Welcome to Hello Chaos, the weekly podcast exploring the messy and chaotic minds and lives of founders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Each week, I have the privilege to speak with founders across the spectrum, founders from different industries at different various stages, from startups to mature businesses of all shapes and sizes. Our listeners get to hear the real, the raw, the unvarnished viewpoints and stories, getting incredible insights on what it takes to start and scale a business, to become a better founder, innovator, entrepreneur, or just a better business leader in their community. Today, we have on our show Demi Knight Clark, needle mover for pioneering women in industry, disruptor in the construction and tech industries. And I am excited to hear all about it. And you've done, and I should say, that's just a little glimpse of, because you're a TEDx speaker, you're an Iron Man. like,
Yeah, not the Marvel Avenger, the
not that, that's
running
right.
triathlon. Yeah,
The triathlon,
bike ride.
which commend all of that. That is fantastic. So, welcome to Hello Chaos. Welcome to the chaos of our show. Start us just telling us your background, your entrepreneurial journey, like what inspired you to do what you do.
Yeah. So to put it in a nutshell, I was raised with some crazy energy in my family of one of the first female Marines in World War II and Rosies. So that was my grandmother. My grandfather as well was, I
What?
mean, Silver Star in Korea. I mean, it's a crazy military family. My dad was a Army Ranger. I was born at West Point. So a lot of that kind of regimented, but also go out there and get whatever you want kind of
Yeah.
energy of I was always put, and also I'd say there's no girl boy. I mean, if I wanted to be pink and do the princess stuff and whatever, that would have been fine with my family, but I had a tendency to do whatever my older brother did. And
Right.
so if that was put me in the workshop with my brother doing Pinewood Derby cars and my dad, and I'm soldering at age 5, that's the feral Gen Xer that I am.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's how I was raised. So I actually loved shop class in high school and was talked out of it by anyone but my grandparents, who were the greatest generation of
Right.
manufacturing. Were
They're
like,
like,
"We should
you
tell you
you
that."
should probably learn some of those skills.
Yeah, it was all college, 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 and it is what it is. But unfortunately, it's the same in 2025 in many
Yeah.
regards, in many states, certainly in my backyard of the Carolinas. And so I knew very early on, like, okay, fine, I'll do the thing, I'll go get the degree, and then I went straight into tech right out of the .com boom in 1999. Got the cool tech jobs and had the Razor scooter. My Gen Xers will know exactly what I'm talking about. Had like
Yep.
pink fuzzy pens in my office in DC,
That's right.
and then that just completely busted. That whole economy busted.
Was right
Um,
there.
and that was
That
at the
was
start of my career. So I was like, whoa, what? That was flashy and cool at the time. And then I
right.
said, what's stable? Because I never want to go through a layoff again in my life. I want stability. I mean, talk to me now, 18 iterations later, and layoffs are
Right.
like layoffs. You just keep moving, especially in founder culture and tech. But yeah, so I went into home building, and I spent 15 years of my life just raising my hand and saying, I got it, I got it, I got it. I want to run that. I want to run this. And really kind of getting back to those roots of being a maker. And went in, it was D.R. Horton. So it was the world's largest home builder at the time. Still, I
Okay.
believe it is by volume, but got some really amazing male mentors. I was only one of 7 females in high leadership. I left as a regional vice president, and I really just left because there was more I needed to do in life. It wasn't because it wasn't a great culture. I wanted
Right.
to impact more women, and there was a kind of limited base I could impact there. So I went off and went to Yale, thinking I had raised 2 girls while I was on the job in a male-dominated industry. So I couldn't
Yeah.
leave the seat. Other people were going to business school, doing the thing, going to night school even. And I was like, if I'm not at a sports event or picking
Right.
kids up from daycare, like, I mean, most women know we can't
That's
do it
right.
all, right? So
That's
business
right.
school
You
was
got to
not,
make sacrifices, and
yeah,
every
was
day
not part of the gig.
you're
So
making a choice, right? Yeah.
when that came about, I said, let's go big or go home. And
Hmm.
so I did Yale School of Management and also started my nonprofit, She Built the City, at the time. I got out in 2019
Oh
and
my goodness.
really put some metal behind that. Got some great sponsors like Lowe's Foundation and others who helped lift it. And not being I was a for-profit person forever. So I
Right.
literally was like, I don't know how to do this. So it was really quick for me to say, okay, how do we do this? How do we get,
Mm.
really great leadership, another executive director? I don't want to be the one who it's my story and one lived experience. It needs to be way bigger than me. And
Right.
I went through the 2-year cycle of that, and then also just kind of jumped off and rolled off the board after my 2 years. So I learned how to be board president and just be a good board member in general. And that was already always kind of part of the plan. But people are like,
Right.
wait, how would you leave your baby? And it's like, no, it's not my baby. And that's where I think a lot of people have
The
issues.
creation of trying to
Yeah,
build that legacy
you've
of
got to figure
you,
out
you
your
build something bigger than yourself.
yeah.
Right.
And also, it's not about you. It's like you had the passion. And so now it was a great lesson for me as I went into consulting. I did women's business enterprise for Spark Building Group, which is my consulting side and workforce
Okay.
development side in the trades. And then I just started Reimagine Rosies in the last
Mm.
year, which is basically a STEM to space maker camp because I went down the welding road after I left. She built the city. We weren't welding there just because
Mm.
there's a lot of different reasons, but insurance is a little more of a challenge. It's a bigger lift. You need a lot more at a facility. So totally understandable. And I said, I'm going to go on my own journey and become a welder. And through that journey, I saw just one on the workforce development side, how hard we make it to become one, especially as a career transitioner. I knew I wasn't going to be a welder in the field. I just needed enough subject matter expertise to say, like, what's the pain here that we can solve for, like any founder does. And then the
Yeah.
second was, okay, I see this workforce development bucket and nobody can give me a straight answer as to how to do this the fastest from point A to point Z. And
Mm.
then also, we're doing nothing to really inspire this next generation bucket of the 11 to 16-year-olds, which now that I've done all the research in the last couple of years and talked to a lot of experts and a lot of nonprofits, is to say, okay, where's the funding? And the funding leaves us and really starts at 16 to 18, but that's when they're under the influence of a guidance counselor. So the
Yeah.
same thing that happened to me, which was like, you don't want to do this. You want to go to college. Well, it's fine to go to college, but you can also do this, or
But
you cannot go to
there's
college
another path.
and
Yeah.
do this. So 11 to 16 is that really iterative stage for these kids. And so two things that I live in, and then I promise I'll stop talking right now, is
Oh.
Reimagined Rosies and my consulting for workforce development, which is really putting STEM back into the true
Mm.
trade narrative
I
and
love
really
it.
welding because it is absolutely STEM. And that's going to take us to space, which is a big part of my camp. We have partnered with both SpaceX and with NASA to do our beta camps in this summer. Couldn't be more floored. And that's part of the
Unbelievable.
universal stuff we were talking about at the beginning of this before we jumped on of like
Yeah.
things you write down and then the people you meet. But then also putting that with sports. So I'm partnered with Osprey, which is redefining icons, women in sports, like a chief for
Mm.
women in sports, and putting welding, STEM that are true trades in these spaces where that's where the pioneering comes in. Women in
Mm.
pioneering areas need to link up, and we need to give more places where you can have access to women to hire them, to support them. And most girls that go into any kind of trades have been in sports. So I
Yep.
talk to everyone all the time, mostly male CEOs in the manufacturing industry who say, I'm not trying to not hire women. We're just jumping off of uh, Women's History Month, and it's a lot of panels and a lot of allyship, and it's like, we're here,
Right.
we're here, we're here. Well, but why aren't we moving the needle, y'all? So I get that kind of behind the scenes after I'm speaking, which is, I'm not trying to not do this. It's okay. Take your shoulders away from your ears. Like
Right.
you're making progress, but go where women are. So, if you can't, if you haven't turned on news and you've been under a rock, women's sports is a thing.
Yeah.
So you've got to really start making those connective tissue dots happen. So
That's
that's a
right.
few places that I'm in, but I pretty much dabble everywhere. Oh,
I
there's a blue ocean and somebody that's in a bleeding edge. I'm probably in it for cultural zeitgeist.
Yeah, you're so so funny the connections in the universe. So I've just joined a new board. It's a new nonprofit called Game Changer, and it was started by women Gen Xers and who love played sports in high school, possibly college, but love the element of sports. But when you go into certain markets, there's no pickup games. There's no court that you can go in, and it's not like it's like a second nature to guys. Like you can go to any, park, any field, anything. There's, a bunch of boys picking up in sports, but it's not a natural thing for women or girls, in sports. So it's a nonprofit that is creating like game changer groups across the country. And I think they're in 30 cities in less than a year and 1,000 members in less than a year. But yeah, how do we elevate that because of the power between and just the uplifting, the connection, the mental wellness and mental and resiliency that comes with playing sports, but also not to lose that and not to lose that team building um, when you age, right? Like you still want to be able to go and hold court somewhere.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely need to be talking offline with Osprey because
Yeah.
they have 100 athletes that are Olympic athletes,
Uh,
pro athletes, and Paralympic, etc., just world champions who are
Oh,
kind of
yeah, we
activating
definitely
these
need to
things.
get the two organizations together because
Yeah,
that would be fantastic.
love
So,
it.
so,
There's the
so
universal connection.
that's right. I'm like the universe spoke. Hey, founders, quick pause in the chaos for something that might just change the way you think about marketing. Quick question. Is your marketing actually working or just making noise? Bright marketing helps founders and CEOs stop guessing and start growing. They're not like most agencies. They don't push cookie cutter campaigns or chase trends. They start with curiosity, the kind that uncovers what's really holding your business back and builds a strategy that actually moves the needle. Because marketing is not a department. It's not an expense. It's a growth engine if you do it right. If your brand feels stuck, scattered, or misaligned, they can fix all that. They are offering a mini brand therapy workshop, a 60-day tune up. Only 5 slots are available. Send an email to hello@gobrightnow.com to grab one of these spots or to learn how their service packages work to help you get clarity, confidence, and real results. Send that email today and write curious in the subject line. Now back to the chaos. What did you, so here you're doing all of these, career changes and, but still kind of have that red thread connection. Um, what did you discover most about yourself?
I think two things. One, I'm a scaler. I thrive in it. Whereas I can come up with that whole EO strategy. I don't know if folks really know it, but it's like visionary or
Right.
executioner. I definitely am. I can have some crazy visionary ideas, but at the end of the day, I'm like, if I can't figure out how to write the playbook and then scale the playbook, um, and that's kind of what founding a nonprofit back in 2019 taught me was that I don't want to stay local. There were so many people that would tell me the rules of
Right.
here's nonprofit life. You have to grow slow for 3 years. You have to do this. But I had this founder's disease of like everything tech in me, which is move fast and break
Move
things.
fast. Get it out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like just iterate and agile thinking, which is break it again, do it again, start over, break it again, start over, keep
Right.
iterating and putting it out there, and then scale fast if you've got the playbook down. And then, P.S., you can tweak the playbook as you go, but be able to scale because scaling is what's going to be it. So I have never done anything but like be massive thinking. And I used to be kind of talked out of that as a girl, I think,
Yeah.
not by my family, but by society where it's like,
Right.
no, pat on the head, bless your
Shrink
heart.
yourself,
Yeah, we're both in the South, so it's bless your heart. Like,
right.
good for you for thinking so large, but maybe stay here. And I
Yeah.
think that's what really, I was impressionable when the college thing came about. Now at
But
48,
I
I
think we,
mean,
as adults, we still face some of this.
oh, 1,000,000%.
Oh,
But me
yeah.
at 48, no Fox is given. I mean, seriously, like you will not tell me, especially with Reimagine Rosies, which by the way is not a nonprofit. Most people
Mm.
just assume it, and not that you did, but I always have to qualify it to say
Yeah.
I deliberately made this as just an arm extension after talking to many, many people
Mm.
and saying, I really don't want to start another nonprofit. No offense to nonprofits, all are doing phenomenal things. There's just enough in the world that I want to connect with the ones that can be my partners, where when we
Yeah.
scale, after I do the beta camps in June and July, we can say, hey, we've got ones in this kind of general geographic territory, the Jesse Combs Foundation and the Girl Start in Austin and Texas, others that are in Louisiana. So it's really California. It's the West Coast that we're looking at because it's less saturated, a lot more opportunity. And also a lot of space connections are in that direction. Um, I can stay, hey, we can come, we can co-write the grants, we can have some operational prowess here, but I don't need to start yet another nonprofit that needs to kind of be out there fighting for the same funding. Because I saw a lot of that too, where it was like,
Right.
gosh, this is cannibalistic. This is really like, we need, I
Yes.
mean, of
It's
anything,
and
nonprofits all deserve the money.
right, right.
So it's, why are we doing, these competitions? And I was in a few startup pitch things that I was like, wait, all I want to give the money to everyone. Like, I should win over someone else because, food insecurity, my goodness, versus trades versus homelessness. Like, it's tough. It's very Hunger Games style, like literally you're in the quarter quell. And that was the side of the world that I said, okay, if I'm going to do this again, I don't want to, that's not the part that really excites me. The part
Right.
is to scale solutions or put things into, again, like I keep going back to cultural zeitgeist, and maybe that's my future word. It's
Yeah,
coming to me. Is
that
people used to kind of say to me like, oh, STEM and sports, like, well, first I had a lot of people a couple years ago when I first started saying hashtag welding is STEM. Why did this come out of the narrative? And it's a very obvious thing. It stopped in the late 90s, right as I was coming out of high
oh, I didn't
school,
even
when we had the .com boom. You had the
right.
Googles and the Amazons and the analytics of the world with Python coding. And that was wonderful that was kind of transitionary to say, look at all these jobs that are opening up. And so we went away from more of that manufacturing culture, that CTE school culture. Really,
Yeah.
it was industrial tech and vo-tech. We had tech in the words
Right.
back in the
But we
day.
didn't
They just got eradicated when we went more of the robotics, the after school STEM programs that were more engineering that were driving them to college. And so that is a big part of my life, is putting the welding as STEM back together and getting over both sides of the fence, because I have friends who are very, very proud of saying we're blue collar heritage. It
right.
is this. And I was like, yes, I don't want to take that away from you. But at the same time, and I know that STEM kind of left them behind and said, we don't want you to a
Right. It's
certain
still a part of advanced manufacturing.
Right.
I mean,
There is more automation in advanced manufacturing. You're in Greenville, like in the
yeah.
heart of this, with a lot of engineering, that we're doing ourselves a disservice in the welding side of manufacturing by not mentioning that. And so that's where the camp came from. Was I was at FabTech, the kind of Super Bowl of welding and automation, had its own huge venue hall in Orlando last fall, and I was pitching this camp, saying, hey, I want to honor my grandmother. I want it to be for all kids. I don't want it to be just for women, but just honor the Rosies and kind of what they started in American manufacturing. If people don't know the history, it really was. We did 3/4 of the world's defense systems in 1941 to 1945, and it was women.
Yeah.
So again, you can't take that away from them. I can't fight with people over that, to be like, men too. Yeah, there were a few men, but there were 15 million women that really started the boom of defense manufacturing for this country and really started the rebuilding post-war. So I give honor to that, as well as the sacrifices they gave at home. And I think that's a way to teach our kids this, the new 11 to 16-year-olds. And then also say, okay, so that's the history. That's one bookend.
And
And now
now
the
here's the
future is,
opportunity.
yeah, the
That
future is
the
you could be
future.
on Mars and
Right.
you're a welder, or, so I don't want to have that less than thinking for these
Right.
kids in the trades when they're doing robotic arm welding, they're doing handheld laser welding, everything with cobots. It's the coolest stuff. And half of them don't even have to go to college. So yes, there are welding engineering programs, some of the best in the country. But at the same time, you could just do this by 18-year-old coming out of CTE school. And so that's what really made me passionate when I started doing all this research and saying, why are we just sticking to the kind of oil and pipe and necessary parts of welding, but we're not telling the story enough to these 11 to 16-year-olds and then exposing them to it so they can see it, be it, by saying this is the jobs of 2028 to 2030. And at some point we will be on Mars, and that is in your generation. And why aren't you
Right.
dreaming big like that? And saying it's manufacturing that's doing that, and advanced manufacturing.
And
So
that can
yeah,
get you there.
I get
Uh,
nerdy fast, because I'm like,
so
oh, somebody had come to me in 1995 and said
with
that
that
for information.
inspiration,
Just like my
yeah.
grandmother at the train station, sign me up. Where do I sign? What do I do?
Right. So I mean, you've had several epiphanies and little aha moments, through your career. What do you think is the biggest aha that either you've discovered about the industry or our culture, or maybe it's an aha that you see in other people?
I just said this to a woman I was on a panel with the other day, is when I've always been to that dream big, like, I think just a big thinker.
Tomorrowland.
People have called me a lot. Yeah, Tomorrowland thinking like people call me all kinds of things since I was a kid. Like, you're an old soul. It's like
Mhm.
I love to hang out with the older people. But I think it was just I dreamt so large that it was hard to be understood. And
Mm.
then again, society kind of gets to you. So now when I see that, one, when it comes to me, I write it on my vision board and nothing is crazy that comes to me. That's a
Right.
whisper. It's always a whisper in my opinion, never a scream, because the screams are more like, whoa, hard stop, red flag,
Right.
whatever. But the whispers are the ones that if you miss it, you miss something big. And it's trying to tell you something repeatedly like, hey, by the way, maybe go in
That's
this
right.
direction, even if it sounds nuts. And so now that I can really tune into that in my later 40s, I don't want to see women, and really women or men, whatever, however you identify, but really women, because of kind of how we're still classed and having to feel like we're
Mm.
120% qualified for everything. I don't want to see my daughter's generation, which they're 18 and 21 in a week, to go through that same, like, well, I better make myself smaller. And then it took them
Right.
to their 40s to be doing this no foxes given, dream big. That's the aha moment to me. Is like, we've wasted so much time in a
Yeah.
whole generation of women. Like, stop.
I mean,
I
I'm
do
I'm
not
with
want
you.
to see
Yeah.
this
If
cycle.
if I look back to, I feel like, and I've said this before, I feel like when I turned 50, it was like I'm having my own coming of age story over the last, few years, because I was a big dreamer and I was a big visionary, but decades but you, whether it's imposter syndrome after you start your business, or even like coming up in the career space, you always have to feel like I need to conform,
Yeah.
I need to fit in, and you try to disrupt, but then you're often told, hey, settle, like find your place,
And
find your
so
spot.
I love this. I got this from my financial planner, which, welcome to being, the responsible late 40s, me and my husband, kids in college, trying to make sure everything's taken care of. Whatever on retirement. I'm not one that looks like I'm going to retire, meaning I just don't see myself stopping, but I also don't want to have any judgment. Like, whatever is your dream, you go towards that
Right.
dream at whatever age. But I was talking to them and they were saying like, well, the retirement job, we just were talking about kind of random things, and we got into like, well, how much money do you want to sustain yourself and at what age, and then what is your retirement job you want it to be? And I was like, what do you mean retirement job? Like,
Retirement
I just
job.
want to be doing whatever is literally getting me up in the morning, that's like, oh my gosh, this is going to make legacy and impact. And
Right.
that could be huge, or that could be working in a floral
As
shop.
in,
I
like,
have no
go
idea.
find the job to coast in? Was
Yeah,
that
well,
what? Yeah.
but what we came from is, when I was talking to her, I was like, what normal answer do you get? I'm just curious, because I'm always the like data person. That's what
Right.
business school will teach you, right? Is to be like, okay, what's the case study on this?
I know.
And
My
I'm like,
friend's
okay,
always
so tell
like,
me
Jennifer, you with the questions. Like, if we ever have to like map something out,
yeah.
get Jennifer in here because she'll ask 1,000 questions to break it.
Well, I'm just curious too. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so for my own, what do people normally say? And she's like, oh, it's everything from boat captain to scuba dive instructor to yoga instructor to start my own like pretzel store. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, all these retirement jobs sound like what somebody wanted to do their whole life. So
Right.
to your point, why are we so stigmatizing what somebody wanted to do
Their
their
passion.
entire life, but
Right.
now they've got to do it at age whatever when they only have so much? And I mean, I hope this lands well. I don't mean somebody's one foot in the grave, but you're much closer to that than when you were
Right.
20. So like,
Like,
why are we
enjoy. It's like,
waiting? And it was
yeah.
such an epiphany for me of like, this is the direction that I'm going to keep going. Because trust me, I get it all the time when I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn will give you imposter syndrome like nobody's business.
Oh.
God bless it. But the
Or Twitter.
title and
Twitter,
like,
the most aggressive and mean social media out there. They'll
well, and it's just like, it's very easy to fall into that trap, even if you're the friendliest supporter that's clapping out everybody all
right.
the time, which I try to be. But trust me, I see friends who are in senior vice president roles in corporate America are doing this, and I know what they make and I know the life that they get to lead by that, but I also know the stress. And I just know that for me, like, what I'm doing right now
Mm.
is, it wakes me up in the morning, and it definitely, I go to bed thinking about it. And it's consistently one of those things that you're like, keep going. And I keep getting the whispers, right? Of like, keep going,
Yeah.
keep going. So again, I don't want to, condemn anybody that's in a job that is in corporate America. It's just,
Right.
it's definitely, you're consistently always, wherever you are, you're going to be looking at someone else. And I don't want to say grass is always greener, but saying like, oh, maybe if I had stayed a little more of the path, whatever the path is, I would be there. And it's like, okay, the comparison's got to stop. I mean, just stop, like overall stop. So
Yeah.
yeah, I get it though. I get it. But I do remind myself of that often after that conversation about 6 months ago, where it's like, why aren't you living your retirement job now? I mean, I think that's a TED talk in and of itself, right?
Exactly. Ugh. Find your passion, find your joy,
Yeah, and who
right?
cares what
And your
people think of
purpose
you? If
and
you
live
want to
it.
be a dog walker because you love pets, like who am I to judge you? Be a dog walker, pay your
Right.
bills, like do what you got to do to live in this life, but also have mental health stability. If you're a parent, be a great parent and be good when you are with your kids. You know, it's just
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and
the
I
whole
think,
we have to
I don't
be.
know if you noticed this, like these kind of conversations we're having, at late 40s and 50s, but I feel like the generation, I'm gonna say Chandler's generation, and even my daughter, I feel like they live that. Like that's their philosophy almost of, I don't, they work to live, not, is that the right? Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
it's like the live to eat,
not
work,
live to work,
eat
right?
to
How we
live.
were
Yeah.
kind of brought up of the grind.
Yeah, both of my 18-year-old is looking for a summer job, and my 21-year-old is looking for her like co-op. She's an architecture student. She's
Mm,
in Barcelona right now, and she's coming back for her senior year at Clemson. And she is very much the like, I am not taking some dumb internship. Like it has to be mindful, meaningful, all the things. I was like, okay, you need
yeah.
to get the thing, so like that's the Gen Xer in me. Like, I don't care where you
Yeah.
are. You
You
need to be
need to get
sitting
off
at
my
a desk
payroll.
somewhere.
Like, right.
Yeah, and like taking phone calls like our generation. And then I think I'm like, you know what? I love the fact that this generation is uncompromising. And I think we have
I,
not made that connection in the working world on the HR side and the
that's
recruiting
right.
side as well as we need to. It's
No.
it's way easier to be like, oh, Gen Z doesn't like to do X, Y, or Z. Well, why again, the data
Right.
statistician here, why aren't we leaning in to say, like, you know what
Why
could
don't
they
we do
teach
that?
us? What could they
Yeah.
teach us about what we're doing? I mean, our generation was more of the like we lived in our parents' basement until we got the job and we were supposed to be grateful for the cubby and all the things. And it's like, well, why wasn't anybody listening that we hated all that too? But we had to do that because
We
that's how
had to do
you
it.
get up in the world. It teaches you regimentation. I will give you that. And it teaches you stick to itiveness and,
And discipline and all.
discipline, but it's not bringing you joy in life. So I
Right.
will give Gen Z a lot of credit for the like, they will not do stuff that they don't feel
Mm-mm.
like
They don't compromise their joy.
mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
And that
Whatsoever.
definitely has ramifications. And that's why I'm like, okay, I love both of you children, but you will make money this summer. Like you're not
That's right.
sponging off mom and dad.
That's what I was like you can have joy all you want, but as long as you're off the paper, you can sustain that.
You
But
can
I think that's where like there's people that have figured it out of they're living their best life and their joy, but they're also sustainable in that. Um, some people have figured it out, some have not, and they're still living on, parents. But and then there's others like my son, 22-year-old, he's graduating next month from as an information systems. He's cybersecurity. Got a job in Chicago,
it's a huge one right now.
huge, and but it's he's always been the one that he'll he'll code for 24 hours, and you have to force the go outside. Like you need to take a break. He definitely got my work ethic and drive because he is like nonstop, always thinking. He's probably got 4 or 5 other like startup projects he's working on, and some other, you know, innovation he's doing on the side. But I'm always like, you need to take a breath, like go enjoy some sunshine,
Yeah. Balance.
balance. Um, oh, that's fantastic. So what's something that you like about this is going to be I think I wonder if it's going to be a tough one for you. What's something that you really like about yourself that you find, hey, this is um, a beautiful gift, but you wish other people would recognize more
Of me or in themselves?
of you.
Oh, that's a stumper.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm maybe not the second part of like what people would recognize. Uh I mean, I would say most people would say you're the most energetic person I've met in a while. And sometimes I feel like I have no energy at all.
Mm,
The average Monday, I'm like, ooh, am I fun to be
yeah.
around? I don't know. There's definitely a stage presence me or when I'm fired up about a topic, us
Right.
talking about things like automation. And when there's I guess okay. So this would probably be the best to put that. And sorry, I have a cat that she's going to enter the picture.
Oh, that's
She
okay.
will
We
refuse
have
to get out
pets
of the
that enter in to our podcast often,
But so
and
I'm trying
children.
to push a cat away at the moment. But I would say I can see things. Then I've learned this about myself of like, I used to think it was just the blue ocean. Like I see things where everybody else is competing in that red ocean and just kind of like happy to
Yeah.
compete. And I see this random thing. Like I named out 3D printing houses way back in the day. It was like 2015 maybe. And I'm so sorry. She is literally like
She is
up
just
against
like
the camera. She
licking
is
the
not,
camera.
she's doing the rub on my laptop, which is not helpful. But anyway, so I saw that and again, like I don't need credit. I have not made a ton of money on it, so clearly startup founders did, but I just started like blurting it out and doing the research very early on. And so I just am an early adopter of things, but also when I see something that's a concept like the welding is STEM, or when I see there's no automation camps that are telling kids kind of the next step of not only is there space travel, but just the bleeding edge of the next manufacturing boom. You need to be a part of that. Oh, Jesus.
Did we lose you, Demi? Did the cat lick the stop button? Chewed the cord? Are you gonna? She's frozen on your end. She's frozen. Okay, you can do a wave. Demi, come back. Demi. 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 I wonder. It almost seems like to her cat. Like pulled the internet cord. Chewed up. Because you can't tell anything on her end at all. Come on back. Oh, there she is. Can you let her in, or do you have to do it from here? Oh, there.
My cat just
I was like,
computer, like literally turned off my computer. I
was like, oh, the cat licked on the off the button.
Like she kept doing this with her paw, and it just turned off my computer. I've never in a million years. This cat is about to die. Did we lose all of that?
No. Oh, we are trying to get. We have two. We have your frozen screen on, so we're trying to remove that. But we'll just pick up. But we were like, as I heard her licking, and then it was like frozen. I was like, oh,
well, she's away now.
Cat turned off that computer.
She's terrified of me.
I love
Happy
it.
Friday.
I know it's Friday. How do you get that removed? In post.
So we might just
okay.
go with it.
So we can edit. Yeah. Can you see your frozen screen? Does it bother you?
No, I can't see it. I see me.
Okay. Well, good. Well, all right. Well, and we're back.
Pause.
What do you think is the biggest challenge that you faced so far?
People being able to see my vision, which I think a lot of founders struggle with, right? Or friends who are doing big dream ideas. And I mean, I think that the instant response for most people is to say, there's something insecure in all of us. We don't want someone to fail, but we see this with celebrities. We see this, with social media of like somebody falling off a pedestal. People just love to roast people as opposed to just saying like, good for them. They're doing something huge and new and spending money on it.
I think it's a weird natural, like we want to, if the whenever you climb up a ladder, it's like this of like, I want to pull you down off that ladder.
Yeah. And so I don't think it's been necessarily that, but I think it's just that kind of natural tendency for us to say, I wish I could be doing something big too. I do it when I see friends that are going into like AI and cybersecurity and places that have, we've got to like write this playbook, right? Or pave this road because it's unpaved and it's scary. And it's so awesome to see people jumping right in it and saying like, we'll figure it out as we go. And I'm going to put my home and my savings and everything. I mean, those are true founders to me that I'm like, whatever you need from me, let's go. And so I haven't been really to that type of, hey, we've got $2 million on the line and we've got to figure it out, or like this thing is nothing and I have employees. It's been more of, do people hear my ideas and are they thinking I'm nuts? Like the STEM to space camp, definitely people are like, oh, I think the newest thing is to say things like, oh, what are you doing now? That's some of the LinkedIn population, right? Like, what are you up to these days? And it's a little qualifying to be like, you're always into something kind of new and crazy and bleeding edge. So what's it today? Almost like, what are you trying out? Just trying on a hat. And it's like, well, these are things that I'm really passionate about. And everything I've started, I've finished or I've moved on to say like, it's got to scale.
Right. So it's a proven thing. So don't.
So I think it's really like,
I don't need to qualify.
Yeah.
You should just be like, it should be more, what are you doing today that I can get behind?
Yeah. So that is, I
Yeah.
think I'm challenged. And again, like I'm at the age now where I just don't care as much. In my 30s and like early 40s, I cared of saying like,
Yeah.
why don't I have a voice to some people? Why can I not be a subject matter expertise or expert in this arena? And so wherever I can, I try to, especially with women, because again, I feel like we kind of have one strike against us many times of already feeling insecure or only being one or two in the room and having to be cleaner, faster, stronger, better, and all the things, is to just pump up these women who are like putting it all out there and saying,
Mhm.
gosh, better you than me, really. But at the same time, somebody's got to support this in a big idea. I don't know where it's going to go, but I know with your work ethic, you're going to make it whatever it can be.
So if I gave you a magic wand and you could change two things about what you're doing with the Reimagining Rosies and what two things would you change today?
Would I change?
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I mean, change is an interesting word. I don't know if I would change it because I feel like you got to go through the process, right? Everything's happening on every day the way it's supposed to. If you have a setback, you were supposed to have that setback. Maybe it takes you to a pivot, that's going to put you in to meet someone new who's going to give you that opportunity that says, well, why don't you go to this space agency instead? Or why don't you not present at that? I didn't make it on the stage to a huge symposium that I was like, no, this is going to do it. This is going to land us. We're going to have it. And then I had to remind myself, like, one, I put it into a startup pitch thing, and I'm not really a startup. I mean, let's face it, it's a beta camp right now. It's not its own entity. Right. We're trying something out over the summer, and the hope is to scale that to 15 camp. And I'm sticking with your Reimagined Rosies piece. Scaling that to 15 camps, hopefully in 2026. And I still want to work out the kinks of this summer in these two camps to say like, yeah, absolutely. The playbook is written and we can tweak it a little bit, but this is how it would scale and really impact the most different STEM organizations we can to solidify it into the STEM space, but then also get these kids, see it, be it into the manufacturing and advanced manufacturing trades to say, hey, this is taking us to space. And that's pretty freaking cool. So I guess it's more of, I wouldn't change anything, but I would get the optics out there a little differently of having people, maybe it's just people understanding the vision and not having to see a 20 slide deck about it and then have to ask a ton of questions. It's like, oh no, we connect those dots. So if there was a really cool way in Canva to connect dots for people on a lot of different things, because I think we have a 5-second brain, all of us do. And I mean, we write the quickest of decks and people will still be like, wait, what is this?
What is this?
So I'm very excited to say, if I could change anything, I'd like forward time so that we'll have these sizzle reels and things to see like real impact for people. But change.
What is your expectation of you know, when you do these beta camps, what is the outcome that you're hoping for?
That's a great question. Outcome is definitely for, if there's 45 participants coming in June in Hemet, California, that every single one of them says, I want to keep doing this in some way, shape, or form. This has inspired me to keep asking questions about this arena, whatever this is, whether they want to keep picking up a torch and it's handheld welding, or they want to learn more on the virtual reality and keep getting on those goggles for Oculus sets and say, I want to keep practicing, or I want to learn more about automation. So at the time that they are 16 and when they start getting those guys, and I feel like I'm making the guidance counselors sound like Maleficent or something, like these terrible people. They're great people, but before they get that kind of influence of questions in like the college prep versus career readiness, they can say, these are the things I'm interested in. And then if they have to take that test where it's like, what are you good at skills wise? They can already say, and we're predisposed.
Well, some of those skills tests don't even have these paths even in them.
Yeah, they don't.
As an output to go, oh, you would be really good at this. It doesn't even have that as an answer.
Yeah.
That would be a great outcome of get these opportunities as part of the test.
When it's also
as a choice.
A third outcome, which has already been discussed, is making sure that advanced manufacturing and aerospace, which is a real piece that I've tied into, both understand that this is an area of STEM that is a recruiting function of focus and opportunity. It's huge blue ocean opportunity to get kids really excited where, they may or may not want to become PhD or an engineer, but they do want to be very involved in what it takes to make this happen for the United
Yeah.
States. And right now,
It-
that goes right back into, clearly I don't want to speak in terms of war, but that's what happened 100, 80 years ago with my grandparents' generation. Was they had to do that to say
right.
like, hey,
But also
there's a lot of jobs involved in this. Some are at the scientist level and some are like building the
at
turbine
the
or the
grassroots,
booster.
like doing it. It's interesting. I wonder if this is, the the time is right. When you look at all the things that are happening around the conversations around manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, that we don't have the infrastructure here. I think people there's a false narrative that I think that's going on of like, oh, we put these tariffs out. Well, it'll force all these companies to bring manufacturing back. And I don't think people understand how manufacturing works and the supply
Yeah.
chain and the
Yeah.
infrastructure, but yet there's opportunity of mass scale in advanced manufacturing with welding and all the things that you're talking about. But um, and it's like we hear that in South Carolina a lot of like, there's but this is a national conversation. So I wonder if now with all of these things had to happen first, right? For people to then go, what do you mean we don't have the infrastructure? What does that mean? And sometimes that is literally like we don't have the the right technology, we don't have the right training and resources. I was explaining this to somebody online of you get into these like conversations of another founder was is basically kind of fighting the she was like, look, I her customers are like, just move your manufacturing back here. She was like, I
You
can't.
can't just
There
wave a magic
isn't.
wand. Yeah,
I
that's
can't
a 5
waive
year
it. And
cycle.
and she was like, now with the tariffs, my product goes from being $35 to $125. And they're like, well, just bring it back. You know, you got to there's got to be a manufacturer you can find in the United States. And they're like, that's not how it works. That's like you moving into, you saying, I want to be a commercial baker, but you have a little Debbie oven or whatever and you can't produce that. So you don't have the right equipment, you don't have the scale, you don't have then the team. I mean, so I think it's a good conversation now to start having these things, and you're presenting an opportunity to younger, like not just younger, but also I'm thinking this is, people don't need to be 11 or 12 to realize this is an opportunity. This might be a career shift for people in their 30s or their 40s who can realize, oh, I didn't know this was even a thing.
Yeah. And robotic arm welding, you're a programmer. So, I mean, that could be your retirement job if you really want to go back to the retirement jobs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
So, good point.
so we're gonna bubble up. Oh, we got I'm gonna ask my two questions at the end.
Got it.
Here we go.
Ready.
Your word. If you had to sum up your journey in one word, what would it be?
Endurance. I think just getting back on the horse. I was told that at 22 from a really great mentor. He was like, I don't care what you do. Back to the Teddy Roosevelt quote, get in the arena, but always get back on the horse. Whatever the horse is, maybe the horse has to change and you switch out your horses, but you're getting back on and keep putting
Yeah,
one foot in front of the
that's a
other.
good word. And then fast forward your next chapter. What's that word?
I think it's the two words. It's cultural zeitgeist. Rather than saying it's industry specific, I've been told that it's
That's
like someone just told me you put things to talk about and create narratives as part of cultural zeitgeist. So if that's welding of
yeah,
what we just talked about, it's got to be
right.
in some place that Kendrick Lamar could pick up a welding torch or Taylor Swift, and kids are like, wait, what? I didn't know this was possible. We have to go big. And so I think
That's
that's the
right.
theme of whether it's women in sports that I'm working with, or there doesn't have to be this automatic connective thread. There's a wow, these can
It's a
intertwine for cultural zeitgeist, and a change is happening, and we're in the midst of a huge cultural change time right now for the next
yeah.
multiple years. So here we go. Let's get on the ride.
Let's do it. All right. And then How can people reach out to you, Demi, and learn more about what you're doing to support you and all your things?
Yeah, a couple ways. My website is DemiKnightClark.com, and you could reach out there and even book time with me. Instagram, I'm Girl Fridays Garage, so I'm a good time on
Ah,
Instagram.
that's
A lot
great.
of the things that we're out there and doing in the world and in the field, speaking, etc., and classes, and then LinkedIn. So I feel like I need to redeem myself. I love LinkedIn. I love connecting with people there, especially professionals. There's more welders than you think on LinkedIn, so I'm Demi Knight Clark on LinkedIn.
I love it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I love the conversation, and we will be continuing our conversations. I think there's some other connections the universe
Absolutely.
is asking of us to stay connected. And for everyone listening or watching, thank you for joining us. The podcast is available on all your favorite podcast platforms. So subscribe to Hello Chaos, give us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, share this great content, and help us build a more connected entrepreneurial community. And for those that want to sponsor us, support us, or be a guest, send us an email to hello@orangewhip.com. Thank you for tuning in to Hello Chaos. It is where aha meets oh shit, and we will see you again next week.